everyone, welcome back to the Tower and another installment of Distory, a monthly series where I talk about a significant event in the history of Disney parks and resorts on the day that it happened. On this day in Distory back in 2012, we rededicated Disney California Adventure Park by welcoming two new lands, Cars Land and Buena Vista Street. But before we start talking about the expansion and rededication of this park, we should probably talk about why it needed it in the first place. Disney had projected very high attendance for their newest park. However, when they held previews in early 2001, most of the reviews were negative. Some of the issues highlighted in these negative reviews were that there were not enough attractions suitable for children, there were too many cookie-cutter style attractions within the park, and there was a much larger ratio of shops and restaurants compared to the number of attractions featured. People also took issue with the fact that we had a California-themed park in California. These negative reviews led to extremely low attendance, especially compared to Disney's original projections. But to be fair, let's also keep in mind that 9/11 tragically happened the same year that California Adventure opened, and that event did have terrible effects on the tourism industry as a whole. To put it into perspective, during its opening year, Disney California Adventure only welcomed 5 million guests through its gates, while its sister park, Disneyland, welcomed 12.3 million guests. And to make matters worse, only 20% of guests surveyed about their experience at California Adventures said that they were satisfied with the time that they had. Over the years, Disney added several attractions to the park to try and improve upon the feedback guests had given them. These attractions include the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, Disney's Electrical Parade, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Playa, and Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue. In 2007, Disney decided that even with the additions they had made, the park was still not doing as well as they had hoped. Bob Iger, CEO of the Walt Disney Company, was quoted saying, "Anytime you do something mediocre with your brand, that's a withdrawal. Disney California Adventure was a withdrawal." And so, on October 17th, 2007, Disney announced a $1.1 billion expansion and redesign plan for the park. And that $1.1 billion is in comparison to the $600 million that it cost to build the park in the first place. Upon opening, the park originally had 4 lands: Paradise Pier, Hollywood Pictures Backlot, Golden State, and Sunshine Plaza. Throughout this redesign period, the entire park saw new attractions and restructuring, but by far the biggest and most exciting part of this endeavor were Cars Land and Buena Vista Street being added to the park. Sunshine Plaza, which was originally themed like a giant postcard, closed officially on August 29, 2011, and was completely gutted to make room for Buena Vista Street. Buena Vista Street is what welcomes you into California Adventure, and it's themed after Los Angeles in the 1920s when Walt and Roy first moved there. If you watched Disney Channel at all in the early 2000s, you probably remember promotions for Disney California Adventure, and they always showed the entrance to the park, which had the word California spelled out in these huge letters, and then there was like a replica of the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. The California sign and the Golden Gate Bridge behind it were parts of Sunshine Plaza. The California sign was removed and was donated to the Cal Expo in Sacramento. They replaced the California sign with a Pan-Pacific Auditorium-style entrance that is almost exactly like the one that we have here in Orlando at Hollywood Studios. The Golden Gate Bridge replica was also removed, and in its place they constructed a small-scale replica of the Glendale Hyperion Bridge. The reason for changing bridges is that Walt and Roy moved the Walt Disney Studios facility to Hyperion Avenue in January 1926, and shortly after the Glendale Hyperion Bridge was constructed. The replica also functions as a bridge for the Disneyland Resort monorail system. Buena Vista Street's only moving attraction is the Red Car Trolley, which travels from Buena Vista Street to Hollywoodland. There are 2 red car trolleys. One of them has a red lining and one of them has a green lining. The red car trolley is number 717, and that's representative of the date that Disneyland Park was dedicated, July 17th, 1955. It is also the same model of trolley that's used in the film Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The green red car trolley is number 623, and that's representative of the summer of 1923 when Walt and Roy first moved to LA and founded the Walt Disney Company. The trolleys run on battery power and are completely emissions-free. At the end of Buena Vista Street, you'll find a signature dining spot called Carthay Circle. This is modeled after the Carthay Circle Theater, which is where Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs premiered in 1937. Fun fact, the Carthay Circle restaurant is 89.5 feet tall, which is 12.5 feet taller than Sleeping Beauty Castle. On Buena Vista Street, you can also find the Storyteller statue, which is a statue of young Walt and Mickey, very similar to the partner statue in Disneyland Park and in Magic Kingdom Park. In the southeast corner of Disney California Adventure, which was formerly the Timon parking lot, we made room for Cars Land. Concept art for Cars Land first appeared in the Walt Disney Company's 2006 annual report, only 6 short months after the film premiered in theaters. The concept art did include a racing simulator ride, but had no specifics on what exactly that attraction would hold. That concept art was depicting the now insanely popular Radiator Springs Racers attraction, which is very similar to Epcot's test track. The ride is housed in Ornament Valley, which features the 125-foot tall Cadillac Range. It's the largest rock work created for any Disney park. Cars Land also features two other attractions, Mater's Junkyard Jamboree and Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters, which replaced the previous Luigi's Flying Tires attraction in March of 2016. If you want to see Disney's impeccable theming at its best, you need to go to Cars Land. Absolutely every detail is perfect, nothing was left out, and it is exactly like the movie. It is absolutely incredible, and it was by far my favorite part of my trip to Disneyland. One really cool thing about Cars Land is that at dusk, all of the neon lights start to come on very slowly, and the song Shaboom from the movie starts playing. It's honestly the coolest thing because you feel exactly like you're in the scene in the movie where they reveal the renovated Radiator Springs, and it's insane and it's so magical. So if you're ever in Cars Land, make sure to go at dusk so that you can see that. Also, one of my own personal experiences at Cars Land, when we first walked into the land, it was as soon as the park opened, that was the first place we went. Red, the fire truck from Cars, came around the corner, and like, after looking for a while, you could tell that there were character attendants with him, but they were dressed in very themed clothing and they were really laying back so that they didn't look like character attendants. And he was just driving around and honking at people, and it was, again, one of the most magical things. Like, no detail was spared in Cars Land, and every time I think about Disneyland, that's the first thing I think is Cars Land. So, in order to prepare for the rededication of Disney California Adventure, the park completely closed down on June 14th, 2012. It's obviously a pretty big deal when a Disney park completely ceases operation for a day. It doesn't happen very often, and the only other time that it happened at California Adventure was 9/11. So they definitely took the rededication seriously in that regard of like taking a day off from having people in the park, which is pretty crazy. But on June 15th, 2012, the park reopened and was rededicated by CEO Bob Iger. The good news is that the rededication and expansion of the park was worth it. In 2016, Disney California Adventure had the 11th highest attendance of any theme park in the world with over 9 million guests. Without Cars Land and Buena Vista Street, Disney California Adventure would be nowhere near as amazing of a park as it is today, and that's why it's an important part of our Distory. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this month's episode. Please don't forget to vote in the poll up in the cards to help me decide what we'll be talking about for Distory in July. Also, in the comments below, let me know what your favorite part of Disney California Adventure is. And as always, for more magical Disney content, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon. Bye!